morning and welcome to my studio for a Friday morning. Very gloomy outside, not that cold though, so that's good. Now Meeden have been very busy this Christmas time, or season coming up to Christmas, and as you know they've sent me their big easel set and it had the oil paints in it and 4 different mediums, and I'm going to review them one at a time. And before that I did the calendar, which was also very good. But very surprisingly to me, I expected it much longer into the future, but they've done it now. They've actually sent me something else, which was really big surprise. And they've sent me this. So this has done a bit of a queue jump because I know a lot of you guys out there will be very interested in this. So they've sent me this, the oil pastel painting set. Now, let's have a look at this, shall we? Because this is going to be quite interesting, especially for you beginners that are out there who really want to push your oil pastel painting forward. So let's have a look, shall we? So here we are then, the Meeden Oil Pastels painting set. I'm going to be honest, I have never seen an oil pastels painting set before, and I think this is a great idea for everyone who is perhaps a beginner or even perhaps an intermediate, but would like everything in one package. So what we've got in here, we've got obviously on the front we've got the oil pastel painting set, 72 colours. That is half of the entire range. I'm very hopeful that at some point I will be getting the full range of 144 colours that they now do. To my knowledge, that's actually the biggest range of oil pastels that you can get, because I think everything else seems to stop around about 120. So from my point of view, that would be very interesting to see. But anyway, in this package you get the 72 colours, and that's probably more than most people would need anyway. Inside the box you get 72 oil pastels, 5 finger cots, 10 oil pastel papers, 6 white oil pastels, masking tape, a base plate, blending sponge pens, a palette knife, 3 palette knives and a picture frame. So let's have a look, shall we? I'm going to have to turn it round. And on the top we have this handle, so you can carry it and you can keep it all in there. And on the front here, this part where it says open is magnetic. So it all keeps together and you can keep all your oil pastel sets in the same place. Right, inside the lid is just more of what is in there, and what we have here, we have 2 layers, and it's held by this bit of ribbon. You can get it out with that bit of ribbon or this bit of ribbon, both together. Now I've unwrapped everything because it was all in cellophane. Every single item and every single box was in cellophane, so it's all been looked after. It's all very good and pristine. But let's have a look at what we've got, shall we? Right, in this box we have the finger cots and the masking tape. So let's have a look and see what we've got. So it's normal sort of masking tape by the look of it. It's sticky enough. Quite sticky in fact, but I don't think it's going to hurt anything. And it's about probably 3/4 of an inch wide, so that's a great start because that is very handy, very handy. Then we have these finger cots. Now I tried to use finger cots once before, but unfortunately they hadn't been rolled like this, so they were really hard and difficult to use, and they were never going to do what I wanted. So for me this is going to be very interesting to have a look at. And I've took one out of the package earlier, and basically you just put it on your finger, whichever finger you like, and you just roll it on like that. Now what you're really doing is turning your finger into a blender, aren't you? I could probably get it a bit smoother than that, but there's no need. And I would say you could probably wash these and reuse them. I see no reason why you couldn't. So I'm going to do a little test on them a little later with the paper. Put them to one side. Right, in here we have a set of 6 Meeden white oil pastels. Always very handy, of course. I'm not going to say I use an over amount of whites, but I do use more than other pastels. For me to have 6 is like overkill for me, but for everybody else, I think that would be really good. Fantastic. And the Meeden white is very, very good. So there's 6 oil pastels there. Then we have this set of palette knives. As I say, all these are in cellophane when they come. Now there's some very interesting shapes here. So let's have a look at them, shall we? Right. So we've got a normal kind of general type shape. So it's that one. And then we have this long, thin one. I've never seen a palette knife that shape, if I'm being honest. But in my mind's eye, I'm thinking to myself, well, it's going to be fantastic for doing a large area and scraping everything across. But it's also going to be very, very good for scratching out. So for me, that is a very interesting tool and very, very handy, I would say. I'm looking forward to using that. And then we have this shape. It looks like a teaspoon that has been flattened. Now, again, I can't say I've ever seen a palette knife this shape. I don't use a lot of palette knives. I do use them, but not a lot. So I wouldn't be up to date with all the shapes that you can get. But this one, again, I think is going to be useful. So I think you could get one of your oil pastels, and dependent on your style of painting, and if you cut this, you can then keep it in its circular shape and flatten it perfectly circle. Whereas unlike this, you might have a little bit of a problem because you'd squeeze into it, whereas this would flatten the whole thing. And I do think this would also be very good for burnishing and buffing out. So I think that's going to be a really, really nice palette knife. That one and that one for me are exceptional, and that's your standard one, which again is very useful too. So there's 3 palette knives. Then we come on to these blending sponge pens. Well, we've all seen these. These are slightly different though, in that I think these little tips are a little bit shorter and possibly a little bit smaller. Not a lot, but you know, this is a nice sharp beveled edge. These are handy. I love using the pointed one, and sometimes I use the beveled edge one. You've got everything you need to start oil pastel painting on this top layer, apart from the oil pastels, of course, but we'll get there. And this is an excellent starter kit and an excellent present for anybody. And of course, don't forget, I must mention it, you get my discount code as well. So you get even more money off. So they're on offer and you get the discount code. Now this is very interesting. We have some pastel paper. So we're going to have a look at that in a minute. We're going to test the oil pastels on it and see what it's like. It has a little tiny bit of texture, but on the whole it's quite a smooth card. But we'll have a further look at that in a minute. Then we have this base plate. This is a very thick plastic base plate, but it's quite tough and quite soft, and it's got all these marks. I'm assuming these are centimeters, so you can measure out your pieces of paper and measure out other things. I mean, you could probably use these as a bit of a grid as well. And then we've got on the other side some sort of geometric type shapes with degrees and what have you. Don't fully understand them, but they're very useful marks for some people. And I would imagine that this is also used to tape your paper onto, ready for painting. And it would be a very, very good surface to be oil pastel painting on. It's hard, but it also has a tiny little bit of softness to it. So that's excellent. Then we have this frame. Let's take the cellophane off. Now this frame has a plastic screen, but of course it would, because you can't really send glass because it would just break, wouldn't it? Inside you have a mount, and then you have this spacer before you get to the frame. So it means that you would put your picture behind the mount and then put the baseboard back on, but it would not be hitting the glass. So it's quite a deep frame. I'd say again that was probably 3/4 of an inch to an inch. So again, you've got everything you need to do your oil pastel painting and to frame it up. So that's quite nice. I also like the fact that it comes in this colour, and you could also stain this or paint this whatever colour you wanted. And then we have the oil pastels themselves, the 72 colour. We've done this before, but let's have a look on the back again so you can see the colour range. And that's a really, really good colour range there. So let's do a little bit of a test on the paper, shall we? I'm going to put the baseboard down just because I can. And if I was somewhere else, this would save me a lot of dirt and problems. And we're going to get a piece of paper out. It feels really nice, that paper. It's quite a good quality paper, I'd say. And I'm going to put it on there. And I'm going to use a little bit of masking tape. I think you'd have to cut this down slightly. If the paper had been slightly smaller than the base plate, I think that would have been probably a slightly better idea. But there we are. You've got plenty of paper, and you can cut this in half, of course. So I'm just going to tack that on there for now, just so I can see what the tape is like. Tape's nice, actually. Really nice. It's just normal masking tape, but good condition. For those that haven't seen the Meeden Oil Pastel review, inside you get a colour chart. You get the colours on the back of the colour chart, but you also get a colour chart in which you can do swatches. So that's quite good. And you get a thin bit of foam, and then you get all these colours in the set. And there's some particularly nice kind of Mirandy come macaroon colours here, darkness. Several dark ones, several light ones, several bright colours. I think that's a very, very, very good range. So let's have a look and see what they do on the paper, shall we? And we'll perhaps test out a couple of these palette knives and finger cuts and see where we go. So I'm just going to do a quick blend test with them again, like I did before, just so you can see what they're like for people that haven't seen the test before. I'm going to use the purple, and this of course is also helping me to see what the paper's like. Paper feels quite nice. The pastels are quite, I'd say, slippery, but quite nice. Purples are always a funny old colour to be using anyway. And it's cold in my studio, so that doesn't help. But they are laying on there really, really nice. That colour not so much, but that is an anomaly of that colour I have found over the course of time. And we'll use this blue. Yeah, nice. Let's use a cotton bud first on this paper. Oh, blending in nice and smooth, actually. Wow. Getting a nice blend there. Bring the purple into the blue and then work your way up. They feel very smooth, slightly transparent. I don't expect they're all transparent. This one looks very transparent though. It's gone on there quite patchy, but it's actually blending out quite nice, so that's good. Yeah, they're not bad at all. I think on a slightly warmer day we're going to have a lot more success with these, because I really ought to have turned the heating up. But they have blended out really, really nice. So let's try it with the blenders, shall we? Shall we go for some different colours? Let's go for this red. Quite consistent. Soft, but with some firmness. So that's nice. I'm putting plenty of pastel on there, but I'm not pressing hard. Let's go for this orange. You get some nice sharp lines with these as they are, because they're not that soft that they're going to affect anything. And let's have this orange as well. Of course, your pastels, how they work, does depend on how they've been stored. And if you've stored them somewhere warm, they're going to be perhaps too soft, and if you've stored them somewhere cold, they're going to be harder. But at the same time, that also lends itself to different things that you can do, like lines and blending. So, but anyway, let's use one of these blending tools. Really nice. Oh, better than the cotton bud. Oh yeah, wow, that is excellent. Well, this is a nice blending tool. I mean, I've used these ones before, but from different companies, but this one is seeming to be really good, if I'm being honest. Look at that. Look at the blend I just got there. That is superb. Blending into each other. That is absolutely excellent. Let's just go over this and see what that's like. Yeah, it's smoothing that out better than the cotton bud. A lot better, in fact. That's nice. Yeah, really nice. So, the blending tools are really very good. Let's try, shall we, this finger cot, because I'm very curious about these. I haven't ever used one, but what you're doing effectively is turning your finger into a blender, aren't you? So a proper blender without losing any colour or anything like that. So let's see if I can get it on. I think I've done it the wrong way. Turned it inside out by mistake. So be careful of that. If your finger cot looks as if it's rolling up the wrong way, it's probably because you've turned it inside out by mistake. So now let's just roll it back up. So there we go. Pull it on tight and then just roll it down. And you can roll it down as far or as little as you like, and it'll probably cover your whole finger. But make sure this part is smooth. So let's get some more colours. Let's go for this brown. This paper's quite nice, actually. Albeit it's a smooth paper, there's enough texture there. You can see, I think, if you can see the holes in there. And I'm putting plenty of pastel on, albeit I'm not pressing hard. But there is plenty of texture there. And it would give you quite a smooth painting. Yellow ochre, that's another one of them colours that sometimes can appear a bit patchy. This one's quite good. And let's go for, oh, this lovely colour. I love this colour. Wow, I can see churches and things like that being painted with this. Wow, that's a great colour. Right, so let's use our finger cot and see what we can do. I feel the finger cot is sticking to the pastel a bit and pulling it off, if I'm being honest. I think it's going to be better if you wanted to spread it out like this and perhaps put thin layers on, because just blending over like that in the way that I did with them is not going to work. So this is more for spreading it out and getting yourself a nice thin layer in which you can work back on top. Yeah, that's what I would do with that. So I would use this finger cot perhaps for putting the first initial washers on and smoothing it out. And I think that would be better than your finger. Yeah, definitely better than your finger. And it spreads out a lot further as well. So that's what we need to do with the finger cot. Spread it out, get a nice even background, and then you can start going on top with your other colours. So finger cots, they're not the greatest for me, but I think you can rewash these and you can get yourself some very thin layers, because sometimes you do need that for the background, and then you can start putting your more intense colours on top. I'm going to have a look at these palette knives. Let's go for this spoon one first. Let's find a colour that we can cut. Now, I'm going to say again, it's not very warm in my studio, so these are not going to be as soft as they could be, but if I was perhaps working in an impasto type state, I could cut that off. Thin layer, that cut a lovely thin layer, and then instead of using one of these that might just actually push into the pastel, I can use this to just push it down and get a better circle, I would say. And of course I can then spread it out. That's nice. Wow, I've never really used palette knives before, apart from for detailing, but I quite like that. Look how that's spreading. That is superb. Wow. See, even the professional artists amongst us do learn something. And of course this one can then be used for scratching out. Let's see how that performs in spreading out. Big area. Yeah, not quite as good as that one. So that one would be for bigger areas, I would say, and this one you can just do smaller areas and scratching out. And the normal palette knife would just spread out as well. This one though is superb. I really like that. You can get a nice even texture over your whole painting, and you can get some nice thick impasto effects, and you can spread it out. Look at that. Yeah, I'm really impressed with that shape, and this shape for scratching. That shape, well, just general things. That's everything looked at. Let's have a look and see how the white goes over, shall we? Not bad. Might have to press a little bit harder because I'm pressing lightly and then I'm pressing harder. So that's not bad at all. Quite good, considering it's fairly cold in my studio as well. That's very good. Well, I have to say I'm impressed with basically everything in this set. I suppose my least favourite thing, if I was to choose something, had to be the finger cot. But of course we've now found out that that's probably better for doing a thin wash background. I don't think it's going to blend your thicker areas, unless of course your oil pastel is a lot softer. These blending tools, well, they're just superb anyway, and you can do all sorts of things with these, and get all sorts of techniques going on with these, especially the pointed one. Mask and tape's good, paper's very good, and I quite like having this surface to work on. And the oil pastels, as I have always said, are really, really good. All in all, I think this would be a fantastic set for somebody that was beginning in oil pastels, or somebody who just wanted to upgrade a little bit and perhaps have a picture frame to put their picture into. Yeah, very, very impressed. And as I said, the set is on sale at the moment. I'm not here to sell it. I'm here just to tell you what it's like and give you my opinions. But I would be unwise not to tell you guys where you can get it and when you can get it cheaper. So, as I said, it's on sale at the moment. You can use my discount code, which is JRE Meeden, MEEDAN in this case, 163. So JRE Meeden 163. And you can use that and get even more money off, which I think is really, really superb and great quality. So one more last look at the oil pastels if you wanted to upgrade to the 72 and get yourself some paper and some palette knives. That's fantastic. Well, Meeden, you've done it again. Another great product coming out by you. First time I've seen a gift set like this. First time I've actually seen an art calendar, if I'm being honest. And both of them products are great. And the easel set is, well, sublime, if I'm being honest. And I think what you've done is achieved something that is accessible at a really good price for most people. And it's just my opinion. For what it's worth, I would advise anybody to have a look. And it's not because I'm trying to sell them, because I really am not. It would be more than my life was worth to sell you something that I didn't think was quite up to it. I mean, if there's anything not quite right, I will tell you. But in this case, I think everything's good. Even the finger cots have their use. And you can keep it all in that nice box, which is fantastic. I think it's a superb little starter set, if not intermediate, and for some people, maybe even professional. So there we go. That's another Meeden product in the month of Meeden. They've been very good to me by sending me all this stuff to review. I haven't had anything bad to say about any of it, and that's really, really good news. And it's my honest opinion. So until next time, please have yourselves a great day, a great week and a great year. And I'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.